spins a web any size, catches thieves just like flies. Look out, here comes the Spider-Man.
Hello everyone, thanks so much for joining me here today as we get to talk about one of my most favorite subjects, comic books. My name is Jose, I love comic books, I love talking about them, I love sharing them with you. Feel free to follow me on social media if you would like. Links are in the description below. I've also posted a link to the Marvel fan site that'll have plot synopsis and character bios for this issue. Amazing Spider-Man 129. Although the cover is for February of 1974, it actually was released in October of 1973. I don't know why comic books were... I don't know why they dated the covers for so far ahead, but it was actually released in 1973. This features the first appearance of the Punisher. Now, I do not have the original issue. I do have several forms of this issue. I have the Marvel Tales version. I have the oh goodness gracious, the facsimile versions of this issue. And I also have a couple of trade paperbacks that include this issue. So, first, like I said, the first appearance of the Punisher. He's different, he's deadly, he's the Punisher. And here, he's going after Spider-Man. Now, one of the things is here, his boots are white. However, on the inside, his boots are not white. So, alright. Gerry Conway is the writer. Andru is the penciler. Although it says artist, he's really the penciler. And then Frank Giacoia and David Hunt are the inkers. So, the Punisher strikes twice. And here we have the Jackal here. And he's like, magnificent, you demolished the plaster statue on your first shot. If you do as well with the real Spider-Man, my friend, you'll have performed the world a great service. So, and here you see the Punisher. Now, how would he miss? Look where he's at. He's like 10 feet away from Spider-Man. Oh, you got him in the first shot. Man, come on. I can make that shot from 10 feet away with a high-powered rifle. So, all right. And so Punisher says, don't speak too soon, Jacko. The actions on this concussion rifle is a little stiff. I'll need to have the mechanic look over it before I go against that web-slinging menace, he says. And the Jackal says, certainly, but the point is you can kill him. And so you can see him bouncing down. And he says, you think I enjoy that? Asked the Punisher. And the Jackal says, of course you do, my friend. That is why they call you the Punisher, isn't it? You like the death, the killing, the joyful revenge. And he says, I kill only those who deserve killing, Jackal. And Spider-Man deserves to die. So we don't know what's going on and why he thinks Spider-Man's the one that he needs to kill. But he completes again from like 5 feet away. Good shot from 5 feet away. So speaking of Spider-Man, here we have our web slinger here. And he says, never thought I'd get bored with web slinging, but right now I'm so absolutely sick of it. I could chuck my web shooter down the first sewer I see, he says. So I love this bird's eye view. And we continue here. It's the air in this crummy burg. Down on the streets is bad enough, but up here in Spidey country, it's positively murder. And so here you can see fumes. You know, there is so much pollution that was done back then compared to now. I know that it seems like we're just, but trust me, we've been destroying this planet for years. So, what's that song from Billy Joel? We didn't start the fire. That's correct. The world's been burning since the world's been turning. So, anyway, Spider-Man says, and speaking of murder, he hears this crack here. It looks like the fair crooks of Manhattan have finally come back from summer vacation. I should get some pretty fine pics for J. Jonah Jameson's news rag out of this, he says here. So here you can see him taking the spider out. So he slings it up here at the top of this building here at the corner there. Which may just get him off my back about the salary he's been paying me. Of course, if he knew Spider-Man was snapping all those crime photos for him and not Peter Parker, old Jolly Jonah would simply explode. So, and this guy here says, "Boss, look, it's that Spider-Man character we heard about in Detroit. He's coming after us. What are we gonna do?" And this guy here says, "Relax, Bebo. From what I hear, he's as much of a crook as we are. He probably just wants part of the take," he says. And so Spider-Man knocks them out and says, "Buddy, you've got your wires crossed. I'm not one of the black hats." So it's that reference of black hats do bad and white hats do good. No, it's not a racial thing. Anyway, so Spider-Man continues, "I'm just your average friendly neighborhood Spider-Man." So you can see these two fall down, and Blondie here still up. So we got you pegged wrong, punk. Big deal. You can see he shoots, but Spider-Man jumps out of the way. "That just means we take you out hard. Out the hard way. But punk, we still take you out." And so he says, "Fat chance of that, handsome. Or, hadn't you heard, I've got the proportionate strength of a spider." So, and some of the spider's neat abilities too. So here he kicks these two. Of course, there's one trick of his I don't have naturally. I'm not what you call a web spinner myself. And here they're shooting. "Get him! I want that punk dead." So they're shooting just randomly. Awesome. And so Spider-Man, Todd McFarlane really does a great job with the webbing. I can see why he didn't want to do this here. And so they're like, "Ugh. But I've got these real fancy gadgets that do the job nicely. Not as good as the real thing, mind you, but effective. Wouldn't you agree?" So one of the things that I really like about this era is just how they compose the inking. They just kind of just randomly make lines for no rhyme or reason. They just kind of go, here we'll put some, and here we'll put some, and here we'll put some. So, and so he leaves them here. Of course, the cops catch him, but people, if he's a vigilante in real life, they wouldn't be able to arrest him. So, and so Spider-Man, so the cop here says, "It's a little early for a Christmas present." And Spider-Man here says, "A gift from me to you, officer, though it probably won't do my reputation one bit of good. This entire town's convinced I killed Norman Osborn, thanks to Jameson and the Daily Bugle. Even the crooks think I'm one of them." So, real quick, I do have a Spider-Man playlist. I did cover the death of the Green Goblin and Gwen Stacy. I have a bunch of stuff also covered, but I have skipped ahead. Okay, I just randomly skip around, finding kind of issues that I think people would like. So I'm not covering everything. So Spider-Man says here, and says, I don't dare come forward in my own defense for fear of having my real identity exposed. I've just got to suffer. And do I ever suffer? How can I tell them that Osborn was the Green Goblin and that he killed Gwen Stacy, the girl I love? So we're getting sort of just some explanation as to some of the stuff that we've covered and just what's been going on here. Who would believe a known public menace? And worse, do I even want to tell them? What would it do to Harry, my best pal and roommate? Osborn was his father. Bad enough his dad's dead, but if he found the truth, and here it says Spidey doesn't know that Harry already has. So, guess there's nothing I can do. Only thing is there ever? So he swings down and changes from Spider-Man to Peter Parker. And so suddenly he tries to smile, and then he's like, ah, the heck with it. Why does Peter Parker always have to be so cheerful anyway? So we get here, we got Betty. Peter, I've been looking all over for you. Well, I'm here in the flesh, Betty. Is Old Man Happiness in? And Betty says, he's with Joe Robertson. But that isn't what I wanted to talk to you about, Peter. And she says, Ned Leeds and I are going to throw a party this Christmas Eve. We were hoping you could be there. And he says, I'll check my fabulously crowded social register, Betty, but I'd say it's a safe bet I might make it. So, thanks, Peter. I knew we haven't been as good friends as we once were, and I hope. And he says, so do I, little lady. See ya. I got to beard the lion in the tiger's den, so. And so he walks in and says, hiya, Robbie. Hello, JJ. I've got some news photos for you, fresh from the shooting. And Robbie says, Peter Parker, long time no see, amigo. And Jonah's like, Parker, as he yells for him. And so Peter says, that's my name, JJ, and I've got the pics for you. Spider-Man breaking up this armored car robbery. And Jonah says, don't mention that costume freak in my presence, Parker, and don't give me this nonsense about robberies. I want news photos, Parker. Photos about news. And Robbie says, take a look at this, Peter. And they got this thing here from the New York Star. So, Jonah says, the New York Star, I didn't know you allowed, oh, sorry, that's Peter. I didn't know you allowed your rival's paper in the building, JJ. Uh-oh, the Punisher. I heard about him. You heard about him. That's good, Parker, says Jonah. That's excellent. He's the most newsworthy thing to happen to New York since Boss Tweed. And you've heard of him. Lord, do I deserve this? Do I truly deserve this? You want pictures of him? Is that it, JJ? Yes, you idiots. I want pictures of him, and I want them now. And he says, so why didn't you just say so? Here, JJ. In the meantime, fill up space with the robbery. The developing comes out of your salary, Parker. Do you hear? Out of your salary. And here he's making the little crazy, the screw loose. That's why people say crazy. It's a screw loose. So, all right. So you can see Spider-Man's going out, and of course you see the Punisher having his gun pointed at him. And he's like, easy for Jameson to say, but how do you find this Punisher guy? He's not going to be advertising himself, and so... Hold it. There's something wrong. My spider sense is beginning to tingle. Of course, this is how they describe the spider sense, and he's in the scope. That means there's danger near, but what sort of danger? And where's it coming from? Can hardly stand it. Feels like my mind's on fire. What the hey? Oh, sorry. It's like what the hey is like what the heck, what the hell. You know, we get there. So, 1 second. 2, now, fire. And he's like, holy crud. So, good pose, good action here. So, some sort of concussion projectile. If that hit me instead of that abandoned tenement, I'd be a mushroom cloud right now. Wait a second. On that rooftop across the street, a glint of silver. And that's what he's looking at over here. It's him, the Punisher. I know, I wanted to find the guy, but this is a little extreme, he says. Whoops, he's heading toward that air shaft. Probably wants to escape. And so, sorry, pal, I'm afraid I can't let you run out on me. There are some questions I want to answer. Mainly, why'd you try to kill me? And so you can see the Punisher kind of rolls here. Hey, you're not half bad at this acrobatic stuff, are you, fella? And Punisher says, I'm an expert at many things, murderer. And for your information, I wasn't trying to escape. I was merely trying to reach this. And so he had a weapon stored here. Your kind of scum has ruled this country too long, punk. And I'm out to put a stop to it any way I can. And so you see here, he springs like a rope here. He's like, whoa, friend, we've got our signals crossed. I'm not a... Hey, Oh boy, some sort of titanium alloy wire bundling me up like a thread on a spindle. How do I get out of this mess? He thinks here. And so Punisher tosses the weapon aside and says, "It's not something I like doing. It's simply something that has to be done. And I've got nothing to lose by risking what's left of my life wiping out your kind of parasite." So, I tell you, the Punisher, when he first appeared, was a different look. But then Mike Zeck kind of changed his look. Um, and that was the look he sort of maintained for a few years. So, and I know they've de-aged him, but the Punisher's always supposed to be someone in his late 30s, early 40s. So, anyway, Punisher continues here. "You're all alike, using whatever means to get control of the public. Drugs, gambling, loan shark operations, some of it legitimate, but all of it evil. Sometimes I wonder if the evil's rubbed off on me. But it doesn't matter. All that matters is the job. Like I said, I don't enjoy it, but..." And so you can see Spider-Man finally breaks free. "I did it. I broke free." And he's like, "What? That wire was strong enough to hold 10 men. You can't." And Spider-Man says, "I've got a secret to tell you, pal. I'm not 10 men. I'm your friendly neighborhood." Forget it. And so good panel here. And like I said, he's got the blue boots. And here now, he's got the blue gloves too. So, all right. Maybe he always did have the blue gloves and I just didn't notice. But I remember the boots. So, and of course the Jackal is like, "No, the Punisher underestimated Spider-Man's strength. My entire plan is coming apart. I have to do something. If the Punisher is captured, he might tell Spider-Man about me," as he hides in that. "And the time is not yet right for the world to learn about the Jackal. So why the hell is he coming up?" So, all right, and here Spider-Man punches him, and so the Jackal hits him from behind. The Jackal's claws dig deep, Wall Crawler, and my negatively charged electropods can also prove quite stimulating. You'll not soon forget this day. And so you can see here he's dazed at what these little things miss. And Spider-Man says, "He's headed toward the edge. I won't have him die this way, Jackal. It isn't just." What? All right. I know it's for story's sake, but still. "Just? Who's concerned with justice, you fool? Just so long as the costume buffoon is dead." So Spider-Man, you can see, falls, and he uses, and he's still dazed here. You can see the things in the over here, and he uses his web here. And so he manages to catch and so Spider-Man says, "Someone managed to catch the ledge. Now, if I can only stop my momentum before..." And then he crashes through. "I was afraid of that." And out loud he says, "Sorry, ladies, accidents will happen, you know." So he gets back there, but he's gone. So I didn't think they'd still be here, but I was hoping there'd be some clue. Whoa, maybe there is. So race armories to the trade. What the hell? I know. It's the early 70s. Let's just go with it. They wouldn't. I know. So it's the joy of comic books. It's the silliness of it, and at the same time, the seriousness. It's really not a bad story. It's just sometimes like when like he leaves his gun here, it's like, what? All right. So I'm at it. Just hit the jackpot after all. So, and so he's back home here. And he's checking on himself here and on his head here. "My head feels like he singed it with a hot torch. That reminds me, Johnny Storm said he'd have the Spider-Mobile ready today." Of course, that happened in the issues that I didn't cover, so you haven't missed it. "I can use the extra cash Corda Motors promise on delivery, especially since I still haven't seen Harry to collect his share of the past 3 months' rent. Last time I spoke to him, he didn't seem in the mood to talk about money." So that was in Spider-Man 127. Again, I didn't cover that. And so, man, am I a case. So he's going to try and fix his mask here. Here I'm getting a couple of $1,000 to build a car for a new non-polluting engine because Spider-Man is a big name. And I've still got to do my own sewing. So, next thing you know, I'll give myself hepatitis from a rusting sewing needle. Ugh, got my thumb. Pain. And Harry's like, he's still there waiting for me because he knows I'm the Green Goblin. I thought he was my friend. But I realize now no one is Harry Osborn's friends. I'm all alone with my inevitable destiny. So Harry's going out. Now we've got Mary Jane here. We're in another place here. Mary Jane Watson, have you seen Peter Parker today? Oh wow, Professor Warren. Petey told me about what happened when you tried to talk to him the other day. That was in 127 again. We're covering stuff that or they're kind of giving us exposition for the stuff I haven't covered. So, you know, when all that crazy stuff with the Vulture was going on, it's precisely that which I wish to see him about, Miss Watson says. I'm afraid I misunderstood that he was seeking help for you at that time. Under the circumstances, I naturally went to offer him my apologies. And she's like, far out. When I see him, I'll give him the message, Professor. Keep together here. They're using local slang of that time. I don't know whether it's, but every generation gets some local slang. So, and so Mary Jane says, but do I even want to see Petey again? Do I want to get that heavy and involved in somebody's life? I mean, the things he's been through with Gwen dying, he's not exactly Mr. Fun these days, she says. And if there's one thing Mary Jane's committed to in this great big woolly old world, it's loads and loads of fun. So, all right, here you can see the Punisher smack the Jackal. And he's like, I told you I didn't want to do it that way. And he says, the Jackal says, my apologies. I had no idea he meant that much to you. And the Punisher says, when I agreed to work with you, Jackal, it was with the understanding we were fighting for the same thing, the complete destruction of the crime world in New York. I did not intend to become a common murderer by allowing a man to fall to his death. Who cares? But hey, that's all right. But he was a criminal. Don't you see? The police couldn't touch him. That's why you had to kill him for murdering Norman Osborn. Why does it matter how he died? Asked the Jackal. And he says, it matters, friend. If I'm ever to live with myself, I have to know I'm doing the right thing. And letting a man die by accident doesn't qualify. And the Jackal thinks here, pitiful fool, I've had enough of your soul-searching. Your usefulness to me is over, finished. The Jackals must turn to other more profitable things now that Spider-Man is dead. And so the Jackal asks, what are you doing now? And Punisher answers, what does it look like I'm doing? I'm going to see the mechanic. I want to replace that wire gun your comrade made me lose tonight. Sorry, your cowardice, not comrade. Your cowardice made me lose tonight. He tossed it. So, all right. And Jackal says, well, do take care of yourself, Punisher. We make such a good team. And Punisher says, that's something I'm beginning to seriously question, Jackal. Very seriously indeed. So, now we've got Spider-Man going. That's the place. The Rice Armor is just as it said on the spear gun. Let's see what Mr. Rice has to say about a certain customer of his. So, the Punisher. And so, Punisher is coming and he says, it is impossible. We left him for dead. So, I don't know how he survived and I don't care. The fact that he's alive turns my stomach. This time I'll make certain he's finished personally. I'm sorry. Did he not just have a fight? A fight with the Jackal about how he died, and now he says, "Oh, it turns my stomach to see him alive." Okay. And here's the thing. Okay, so the writer, in this case, Gerry Conway is a good writer. He's one of the better writers from the 70s and even going into the early 80s. So uh, to when you're writing a story, the consistency is something that's very important. Um, and sometimes I don't think some of these people took the craft seriously. And I know that he wanted to be a comic book writer. A lot of these people were inspired and they decided that this was the career that they wanted to pursue. But to spend, 2 pages going, "Oh, how I can't believe that he fell," instead of saying something like, the very fact that he's alive turns my stomach, and saying, now I have a chance to say, "Do it right," or something like that. So that's actually what I'm kind of arguing about. It's just the characterization. So, all right. So Spider-Man goes, "Hey, anybody home, Mr. Rice? Look, I don't mean any harm. I just want to talk to you, Mr. Rice or Reese. Would you say Reese, Rice? I don't know." And then he finds him there. "Oh boy, somebody didn't like you very much, Mr. Rice. The way they slashed you up, some sort of cat." And so Punisher comes through. He goes. So Spider-Man goes, "Now what? Oh no, it's you again. Won't you ever quit?" And Punisher kicks him. "Not while you're still alive, punk," he says, and kicks Spider-Man. "Not while I'm called the Punisher." So good good pose here. So look at that. And so Spider-Man says, "For a guy without a fancy costume, you've got the tricks of the trade down pat." And he says, "I spent 3 years in the Marines, Spider-Man. I didn't want..." And then he goes, "What? Race, you killed him too?" He says, "Somehow I knew you'd say that. We Can't we talk this over like civilized people? And I'm sorry. Or do we have to keep this up till one of us is killed?" And Punisher says, "I don't make deals with murderers, Spider-Man, especially a man who killed my friend." So Punisher, of course, tries to punch him, but Spider-Man moves out of the way. "You're jumping to conclusions, buddy. Take a look at your pal's neck. Don't don't those marks look in the least bit familiar?" And he says, "I've heard that kind of line before, masked man, from men who'd killed their own mothers for a price of a fix." And so you can see the Punisher shooting and Spider-Man dodging him. "And I don't buy your games. No way, my friend." And Spider-Man says, "That's too bad, Punisher. It doesn't leave me much choice. Because if it's a toss-up between you and me..." And so he puts some webbing into the gun here. "The man I'm rooting for to win..." And so you can see Spider-Man going through all these different poses or different things here, "is me." So, and he knocks down the Punisher here. You can see the big hit here. And so when the Punisher comes to, and he says, "Forgive me for being so rough, friend, but I was pretty sure I wouldn't beat you by using kid gloves. Now, will you look a little more closely at Reese's body?" And he says, and Punisher says, "Do I have a choice? Not much." And then he goes, "Lord in heaven, those marks, like claw marks of some kind. I know precisely what kind, and so do you. I got a handful of them across the back of my head from that pal of yours. The Jackal, he did this, but why?" says the Punisher. And Spider-Man says, "One question first. Did you leave that armorer's plate on that crazy rifle of yours, or was it off? Do you think I'm crazy? Again, why? Then that wasn't the gun you dropped. The Jackal friend of yours took it and replaced it with one that still had the plate." Okay, that makes much more sense. I haven't read this in forever, so you'll have to excuse me. I think I've read this once, probably, gosh, when I got that Marvel Tales. So I probably haven't read this. Let's see. I was probably about 13 years old when I read this story. Haven't read it since, so I know. To So Spider-Man says, to incriminate you, of course. He knew you had to come back here tonight, so he planted evidence. The cops would have found it if I hadn't. Then to tie it up neatly, he killed the old man, so you'd be found with him. And Punisher says, he was gone for a while this evening, an hour ago. But what's the purpose? He asks. To get rid of you after you'd gotten rid of me. In case you haven't already guessed, fella, I'm not a murderer. I'm one of the good guys, I think. And so Punisher gets angry, punches the thing, and breaks the side of the door. That would bust your hand. I don't care what great condition you are. Then he used me like a pawn. He'll pay for that. He'll pay, says the Punisher. Say, friend, what's this whole kick you're on? You said you were a Marine, so how come you're fighting over here? And Punisher says, that's my business, superhero, not yours. Maybe when I'm dead, it'll mean something. But right now, I'm just a warrior fighting a lonely war. So Punisher goes away. And Spider-Man says, something tells me that man's got problems that make mine look like a birthday party. Uh-oh, police sirens. 5 will get you 10. They were tipped off. And naturally, since I'm the only one visible, they'll lay the whole blame on me. And so, of course, they see him. What did I tell you? This isn't my week. And so, of course, the Jackal was watching here. Well, it appears you've escaped this time, Webslinger. But I promise you, you won't be so fortunate again. If I must take over the city, I must first destroy you. And I will. This the Jackal swears. So, this is going to conclude this issue. So, Amazing Spider-Man 129. We are not going to do the next issue. I haven't decided what we'll do for the next issue, but sort of wanted to cover this one. It's pretty famous after all, and costs several $1,000s, so the average person won't be able to afford it. But anyway, here you go. Now you see what $1,000 will get you. So like and subscribe. I do thank you for listening. Goodbye.